Everyone, again, thank you very much for tuning in. As always, I want to start with a prayer. We'll have some updates, Q&A, and a Bible study. I also want to show you something about geopolitics a little bit on Google Earth, something just a small little thing. And again, we'll finish with a Bible study, more Q&A. Earlier today, my son had a hard time to fall asleep, so I just walked him around the neighborhood with a stroller, worked like magic. 10 minutes later, was asleep. And as I'm on my way home, I saw a turtle. And I really envy this turtle right now, I must say. Taking his life slowly, protected with his armor, I guess, or his shell, or not sure how it's called, but he's just very happy, and I kind of need, I'm kind of envy him, let's say. So that happened earlier today. Earlier today, I was also, I met a friend, and in his town, there was a lady that was kidnapped into Gaza from the big party, this music festival that was going on near the Gaza Strip, where there was a whole massacre taking place, and many people were kidnapped from there. So this young woman, Mia Shem, her name, she was also kidnapped, and yesterday Hamas also published her, I can't remember if it was a photo or a video, but as a part of his psychological warfare, to put pressure on the Israelis to kind of abandon the idea of a ground attack, they published her photo. So we're praying for those who are kidnapped in Gaza, especially the children and babies and the elderly and the women. And we're praying for men that are there, some soldiers even. And we're praying for those who are wounded and those who are injured and those who were killed. And we're praying for the ascension of their spirit to Eden. And we're praying for those who are mourning for their dead and their dear ones are missing or kidnapped, that God will give them strength. And I showed you this picture yesterday of those who are kidnapped, as far as we know at the moment. One of them is my friend Hagit Rafaeli. She was missing for more than a week, and now they actually suspect that she's in Gaza, so she's also there, and so we're praying for them. And I want to start with one more thing before we say the Psalm chapter. There are few communities and few towns that got hit really hard. Apparently, there's one school in not too far from Tel Aviv that had 8 casualties. Eight students of that school were killed. One is kidnapped in Gaza, so really traumatic. So this is the type of stories that we hear these days about communities. I'm not sure if it's a kibbutz or moshav up north near, not too far from Haifa, that also had 7 funerals. It's a small community. I think it's like 2,000 people or so, and got hit really hard with 7 funerals. So we're going to read the book of the chapter Psalm 9. Psalm 9. It's a bit longer than usual, but we'll manage. So I'm going to read it in Hebrew. You can follow the English, and after verse 10, I'll have to jump to another slide. למנצח אלמות לבן, מזמור לדוד, אודה אדוני בכל ליבי, אספרה כל נפלאותיך, אשמחה ועלה צבח, אז אמרה שמך העליון, שוב אויבי אחור, יכשלו ויאבדו מפניך, כי עשית משפטי ודיני, ישבת לכיסא שופט צדק, גערת גויים, איבדת רשע, שמע מחית לעולם ועד, האויב תמו חרבות לנצח, לערים נטשת אבד זכרם המה. לאדוני לעולם ישב, כונן למשפט כסאו. והוא ישפוט תבל בצדק, ידין לאומים במישרים. ויהי אדוני משגב לדח, משגב לעיתות בצרה. ויבטחו בך יודעי שמך, כי לא עזבת דורשך אדוני. זמרו לאדוני יושב ציון, הגידו בעמים עלילותיו, כי דורש דמים אותם זכר, לא שכחת צעקת ענבים. חנני אדוני ראה עוניי משונאי, מרוממי משערי מוות, למען אספרה כל תהילתך, בשערי בת ציון אגילה בשועתך. תבואו גויים בשחת, עשו ברשת זו, תמנו נלכדה רגלם, נודע אדוני משפט עשה, בפועל כפיו נוקש רשע, היגיון סלע, ישובו רשעים לשאולה, כל גויים שכחי אלוהים, כי לא לנצח ישכח אביון, תקוות עניים תאבד לעד, קום אדוני אל יעוז אנוש, ישפטו גויים על פניך, שיטה אדוני מורה להם, ידעו גויים אנוש המה סלע. Well, these are again these amazing and powerful words of King David, and I'm just embracing them in these hard days. There is that prayer that I mentioned about the Israeli Defense Force. We won't read it now, but just putting that in mind that we have a special prayer that we say for the Israeli Defense Force and its soldiers. So just a reminder. I think I'll do the Q&A and then we'll open it for sorry, I think I'll do the updates and then we'll do the Q&A if you don't mind, and it's not too long, I think. So this is a photo that was it's actually a part of a short video of the Ministry of Tourism of the candles, people lighting the candles in the heart of Tel Aviv. It's called Dizengoff Square. So really that's what we do these days, praying, lighting candles, volunteering in any way we can. People participate in funerals, in the Shiva in the morning, mourning the families that are mourn for their dead. So that's a lot of what is happening right now in Israel. A friend of mine, Amit, he posted a little pawn. So there's a very, very famous Jewish saying that kind of urges you to be proactive. If I am not for me, who will be for me? Imen anili mili. So he kind of played on that, and he says, Im en amili mili, which means if my nation is not for me, who will be for me? And again, it just captures the spirit of volunteering and helping that is really going on right now in Israel. So no person will be alone in his grief or in his confusion or in his hardship. Yusuf Haddad is a very, very famous influencer and pro-Israel activist. He's he himself a Christian, Arab Christian from Nazareth. He served in the Israeli army, I think in Lebanon. I think he even got injured during his service, his military service. And he's a very known speaker for Israel as an Arab Israeli. And what he wrote, he tweeted earlier today, is that I'm flooded with Arab Israelis that send me videos and ask me to upload on my social media so that all the people of Israel will hear them. They write to me that it's about time that we'll stand with our country and we'll speak loudly for our country and against ISIS and Hamas. Or I think he actually refers to ISIS as Hamas. And then he says, I'm very proud to be a part of the Israeli society as a whole and as a part of the Arabic Israeli society in particular. So I mentioned the feeling of solidarity amongst the Israelis right now, and he expresses a very interesting voice of Arab Israelis that feel a part of this country, and they don't want to be affiliated with Hamas and its massacre and its barbarism. So that's a very interesting tweet from earlier today. This soldier that is full of candies, and Israelis really love their soldiers. It says at the bottom, "Thank you, the people of Israel," and you can see a soldier wrapped with all these candies. And on the top right, usually we have, if it's there's a lot of sugar content in it, or too much salt, or too much fat, I guess. Then there's this sticker, this red sticker that says a lot of like high quantity of sugar, high quantity of whatever. Over here it says high quantity of love. That's the red little thing over here. So again, there's a lot of initiatives to support and help the soldiers that are reservists, many of them, and their families too. There was this gentleman that participated in the birth of his fourth son, through his phone. He's in the reserve. His wife just gave birth, and he attended as much as he could in the birth. So also a very special moment during this war. There was a nice initiative of ultra-Orthodox jewelry makers that from their own initiative, they created these necklaces with the image of the soldier and some writing next to it. And they are visiting the different shivas, the families that are mourning for their soldiers. I think it's about over 300 soldiers that died in the last week or so. And again, shows you the solidarity of the ultra-Orthodox community and them wanting to be a part of that, which is a blessing, of course. Something that I noticed today for the first time is people are uploading tattoos. People that survived the massacre that took place have a tattoo of the date when they were in a way saved from the terrorists. So the 7th of October 2023. Nova is the name of the music festival. I survived Nova, what you see here. And again, this idea of having numbers on your arm or on your body, of course, resonate with the Holocaust. So that's another thing that is happening right now. So people are already thinking about how to commemorate it and how to deal with the trauma, the national trauma that we've been through. By the way, just although tattoos are not allowed in the Jewish law, according to the Jewish law, people still do that, of course. So that's what you see. On the political side, in the last few days there were attempts to get Lieberman and his political party into the government. He wanted to be in the small cabinet that is actually in charge of the war. And I think he was refused. Netanyahu and I guess the other government members didn't allow that, and he stayed outside. But he says the government has my back for any attempt to collapse the government of Hamas in Gaza. So that just on the political front, that's another little thing that is going on. Okay. So it was a shorter update, and we had the prayer. And if anyone wants to add something to the prayer or have any questions, then you're welcome. Again, you should feel free to write on the chat, or if you want, you can open your microphone.
I've got a question. So did I get that right? That you're praying for the people that died, that their soul is going to Eden?
We say in Hebrew Leilui Nishmat, meaning for the elevation or the ascension of the spirit or the soul of the deceased.
Mhm. May I ask? I have no idea what is the Jewish idea of the afterlife.
We believe in afterlife. It's not emphasized as much as I guess in the Christian faith, but we believe in heaven and hell, but in a slightly different way. We do believe that the righteous end up in the Garden of Eden, enjoying the light of God, and there are all kinds of versions exactly of what exactly happens in the Garden of Eden. One of the versions is that you just enjoy the light of God and study Torah. That's a pretty common description of it. And hell in the Jewish faith is it's not exactly people could disagree, I guess, but it's not exactly a punishment. It's just a way of purifying your spirit or your soul and cleanse it from your wrongdoings, so that you can end up in the Garden of Eden. So hell is not for eternity. We don't have eternal hell in Judaism. It's just I think it's 11 or 12 months.
Okay, and so are you so when you're praying and you don't exactly know if the person was righteous already or not, so then the prayer helps the spirit of the deceased to go through this purification process, or how do I understand that?
Yeah, so when you are alive, you can acquire, in a way, you can become righteous, and you can purify your own spirit when you're alive through all kinds of commandments and um, good things that you do, acts of mercy, acts of compassion, etc. But when you passed away, you cannot do this for yourself. So it's a good thing that other people pray for your soul and do other good things on your behalf in a way.
Okay, that's extremely interesting. I hope you don't take offense. It just reminds me of the Catholic idea that when the soul is in purgatory to be cleansed, then the living relatives can do something like one thing is praying, the other thing is I mean to have a special indulgence. So in the past 500 years ago, you could purchase these indulgence letters. Today, I think, if I get it correctly, I'm not 100% sure. When the Pope is praying his special blessing on Christmas and Easter, the Urbi et Orbi, then you can get a specific indulgence, or if you do pilgrimages, or if you whatever. I'm not familiar with
No,
everything.
I'm familiar with what you're talking about, and
Mhm.
it's not particularly shocking. I mean, this whole concept of the afterlife is could be scary. I mean, I just don't think in the Jewish faith, it's not as scary, I guess, in a way. And not that people are not afraid of dying. It's just that there is no concept of eternal fire or eternal hell or anything like that. And yeah, so there are acts that you can do. It's just that it comes from the Bible itself, the idea that those who died cannot help themselves. I can't remember which psalm, but they can't pray for themselves. So God takes no, they can't praise God in a way. So God is not interested in people to die, basically. He's interested in them to live. And when they die, they are helpless. They're just helpless. So the family and relative and friends, they try to elevate the spirit.
Okay, it's very interesting. Thank you. Learned something.
Yeah.
12 months, by the way, but
Thank you,
time
Jeff.
off for good behavior and Shabbos off as well.
No, it's for the Sephardic, it's 11 months.
Now you say Kaddish for 11 months, but
Yes,
Gehenna could last as
12
much
months.
as a
Okay.
year.
Yeah. Oh, so okay, that's why I got confused with the 11 months. So the Kaddish is for 11 months. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Jeff, for that. Justine is asking who is the leader of Hamas. There are a few leaders. There's the military branch, there's the political branch, but it's like a whole body of leadership. And some of them are in Gaza, some of them are actually in Lebanon or in Qatar. I think for a while some of them were in Turkey as well. So who's exactly the leader? The military leader is Yahya Sinwar and Mohammed Def. I mentioned them a few like last week or so. They are like the important people that Israel would like to see them dead at the moment. We just heard that a hospital in Gaza was bombed, and the IDF claims that Israeli forces did not do it. So Hamas is bombing a Gaza hospital. I didn't see the report. It happened before that they launched their own rockets and they fall in Gaza itself. So, but I don't know. Welcome, Fayaz. Okay. Any other questions before we move on?
Just a comment, Itamar.
Go ahead.
I find it very disturbing the amount of countries in the West that there's so many protests, and most of them are Palestinians, in favor of the Palestinians. And I find that really hard to watch at times.
Mhm.
And I just find it hurtful. And if I'm hurt, I don't know how Israelis must feel.
We are very used to that, I must say. So it's not shocking. I just heard a lot of earlier. I didn't listen to the entire interview, but I think it was Piers Morgan that interviewed a pro-Palestinian activist called Mohammed Hijab. And when you see that, if you'll see that interview, Mohammed Hijab and Piers Morgan, I guess if you Google it, you'll find it. Then this is the type of things that we're dealing with. Just blaming the victim 101, basically. So just if you're interested in seeing what we're dealing with, then I think this is in a nutshell. That's really it.
Just know
What
there
is
are a
that?
lot more. Just know that there are a lot more people supporting you.
I hope so. I didn't do the survey, but I'll just say that it's for the Jews in general and the people in Israel right now, in modern Israel, this is not foreign to be outnumbered by our opponents or by our critics. So I'm not shocked by that. So on the mental level, it's just okay. Like that's how it normally is. So it's not particularly shocking. But again, after all the atrocities that Hamas did, I just don't understand. Okay, so there are maybe pro-Palestinians that are maybe from the Muslim world or the Arab world or whatever. Okay, they have this animosity towards Israel for many years. But to see Westerners cheering for Hamas, this is something that I just don't really understand where it's coming from. I mean, I understand part of it, but it just makes no sense. So yeah.
I would just like to say that here in England, the Jewish community is really very much affected and really scared.
Mm.
So I've read quite a number of articles where Jewish people here brace themselves for more attacks, and there have been some vandalizing. So here in the country, it does affect people quite badly.
Okay. Yeah, the Jewish diaspora is always affected by it. It's not new, of course. Okay, I'll just use the last comment on the chat, Emily, as a segue to what I wanted to talk about. So I still, I must say, I am confused about not the attack itself, but the timing of it. I didn't find enough convincing arguments about like why exactly now. Okay, so it's just that I mean, yes, there is the context of Israel and Saudis really getting together that threatens Iran, and maybe Iran had a signal to the Hamas to attack. But what is the interest of Hamas right now to attack? Maybe it's just a matter of. I think it's actually it doesn't make any sense. So I'll just show you so the grand scheme of things, and then again, I'm still confused by that. So I don't always have straight answers. So here's Iran. Okay, just okay. This is the Middle East. We are looking at Iran. Tehran is up north over here, and the axis of Iran has it's like a. I actually saw it in Arab newspaper. They described Iran as an octopus that has 8 arms. Okay, so not necessarily 8 arms, but here I'm just trying to draw something here, and let's see if it will make sense. So Iran had, since the collapse of Saddam Hussein and what happened in Iraq in the early 2000s, Iran basically has a lot of militias in Iraq itself. Okay, so this is one arm of that Iranian octopus. Iraq is 60-something% Shiite Muslim, so at least on the religious level, they're like Iran, 12ers, Shiites. Syria is another arm of that octopus. It's a very small country, but Lebanon over here, also 40 or 50% Shiites. Okay, Syria itself is led by the Alawite family of Assad, Hafez, and then his son Bashar. So the Alawites are not exactly, some would even describe them as non-Muslims, but for whatever reason, they are a branch of Shiite Islam, and they are part of that axis. Then you have Yemen as well. Okay. Over here, so you see that Iran, as far as it's concerned, it's like a regional power that surrounds Sunni countries like Saudi Arabia, which is very wealthy on the one side, but very weak militarily. And the few other things that I can't really show you from this so far out in the space, yeah. But we have Gaza over here as a collaborator of Iran. So that's basically how, and we have Hamas and Islamic Jihad in the West Bank itself. So I don't know if I would separate it. It's just a part of that same branch, basically, or the same arm of that octopus. So what Iran really wanted to do, at least in theory, that what their strategy was, is that Israel will be bullied or challenged militarily by terror actions from all these fronts, and ultimately it will all come to one moment when Israel will be attacked in one time and in a way shaken or outright collapse. So that was the idea. So what exactly am I talking about? The idea was that in a certain moment, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, Hamas and Islamic Jihad in the West Bank, Shiite militias that are now in Syria since the civil war over there, and even Yemenite, their Yemenite allies, which are also Shiite, by the way, will fire rockets and drones, not rockets, but missiles and drones towards Israel. And with that, they even wanted to do something like incite the Arab Israelis, citizens of Israel that are Arabs, to have a clash from inside. So in a way, Israel was supposed to be challenged by quite a few fronts. Okay, so Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, Golan Heights, the Arabs of Israel, Yemen, okay, all happening at the same time, and if needed, then even Iran could send their Shihab missiles from Iran. So it's like 6-7 things to deal with. So this is the type of, this is basically their, at least in theory, that what they were planning for us. So okay, so Hamas started or launched their attack. Why didn't it happen with the collaboration of Hezbollah, with the collaboration of the Shiite militias? They are disturbing now on our border. Okay, they do these attacks on our border, but not to the same extent that I guess the Iranians would originally would do. If they orchestrated the entire thing, maybe they wanted it in a different way. So again, when we're talking about the rivalry between Iran and Israel, that's what Iran is planning for us, basically. The whole nuclear issue and Iran being developing a nuclear weapon, it's supposed to give an umbrella of, okay, no one can actually attack Iran itself, because, just like no one is really attacking North Korea, because we have that nuclear umbrella. So it's not in order to necessarily shoot the nuclear weapon towards Israel. It's more like an umbrella that prevents Israel and other countries from harming Iran in a severe way. Okay, so that's like a mutual assured destruction kind of paradigm. Israel on the other side, of course, trying to Israel has a strong connection with Azerbaijan, with I think the with Tajikistan, the Gulf states that now we have peace treaty with Saudi Arabia. If it would be a part of that Abraham Accords, that will allow Israel to have ability to attack Iran from very short distance from the friendly countries in the Arab Peninsula. So that's on the more geopolitical front. I just wanted to share that with you. If you have questions about that, and it's slightly connected to the Bible study, so if you have any questions about that, just let me know before we move on. I hope it was understood. Okay. What is that? Why of all the Islamist countries is Iran spearheading, sorry, to wish to go to get rid of Israel? Okay, so she'll go back to the 50s, let's say 48. Okay, that the Sunni world, the Arab Sunni world, basically was strongly against Israel, in 48, Israel was attacked from quite a few fronts, 5 armies plus the Arabs in Israel itself. In 56, it was mainly Egypt, 67, Jordan, Syria, and Egypt, and volunteers from the Arab world. So basically, after 67, there was no one to lead the ideology that is called Arab nationalism or Arab socialism at some point. No one was leading that. So the Arab world started to decline, and in the 70s, we already had peace agreement with Egypt. So in a way, the most important Arab Sunni country, Egypt, the biggest one, was out of that cycle of war. So then you'll see that the wars after that, let's say 82, in the 70s, there were many terror attacks by the Palestinian terror groups, but in 82, okay, again, the Palestinians in Lebanon. In the 90s, it's Saddam Hussein, again, a Sunni ruler launching rockets towards Israel. And as we move forward, basically after 77, the peace agreement with Israel, another thing happened in the late 70s. That's the Islamic Revolution in Iran. So in a way, the resistance to the existence of Israel moved from the Sunni world to the Shiite world. I remind you that until the Islamic Revolution, Israel and Iran actually were allies. I know people that actually lived in Tehran for a while, worked in Tehran for a while, or their parents worked in Tehran. So that was the matter of things under the Shah. He had his own ideology and what he wanted to achieve, but it just shows you that the Sunni and the Shiite world has all kinds of ways to find themselves on two other sides. Right now, I would say that the Hamas, for example, it's a Sunni organization. Islamic Jihad the Palestinian Islamic Jihad in Gaza, it's a Sunni organization, but they will collaborate with Iran because of their shared enemy, which is Israel. So they spearheaded this. It's part of their ideology. It's a part of their shared Islamic ideology. By the way, they would resist, knowing a little bit of the Shiite iteration of Islam. They consider the Jews impure. Okay, Najs, it's called in Arabic or just the jargon. So they consider us impure. I can give you an example from the war with Lebanon. Shiites that were captured by the Israeli army in 2006, some of them didn't want to get food and water from the Israeli service, prison service, basically, because they were Jewish. So they don't want to get. Of course, they got at some point because they couldn't survive. But this whole idea of the Jews are as impure, this is something that is emphasized in the Shiite Islam, and they are rejecting the idea that Jews have a country in any part of the world. It doesn't matter if it's Israel, or even if the Jews would start, theoretically speaking, a country in Africa or in Latin America, they would still resist the idea that the Jews will have a country, because as far as they're concerned, Jews is not a nationality, it's a religion, and they reject the idea that a religious minority should have a country. It's a part of this whole Dhimmi system, this whole idea of second-class citizens. Jews and Christians are like second-class citizens under Islam. So that's part of that, with their own take on it, of course. Chris, I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. It's quite late. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thank you, Faz, for joining. Thank you very much, Karina. Okay, so any other question regarding what I was explaining, a little bit about the geopolitics of it? Okay, so if there is any question, don't worry, after the Bible study, I want to talk about that as well. So I just want to show you one picture, and then I want to move to the chapter itself. So I want to talk about the book of Nehemiah. Just in the chronology of the Bible, okay, we have Genesis, creation, the forefathers. We talked about quite a few thousands of years ago. Let's say around anywhere between 6,000, that's the creation, and 4,000, that's approximately the time of the patriarchs, about 4,000 years ago. Then we have, again, I'm not being accurate, but just roughly. Then we have the children of Israel enslaved in Egypt, and about 3,300 years ago, Moses takes them out of Egypt, and they're roaming around Sinai for 40 years. After that, we have a long period of the judges. Joshua conquers the land after Moses died, and we have a long period of the judges, very special moment in the history of Israel. And only then we're getting to the days of the actual kingdom of Israel with an actual kings, like King Shaul, King Saul, and King David. This is roughly 3,000 years ago. The book of Nehemiah follows a in the Persian period, basically. So the temple was destroyed by the Babylonians about 2,500 years ago. I'm just giving you round dates just so to make it easy, about 2,500 years ago. So approximately the 5th and 6th century BC. Then Nehemiah is one of the people that is returning from Persia, returning from Babylon under the Persian Empire, to reestablish Jerusalem. Okay, so we're talking about the returnees from Babylon. Okay, the first kingdom collapsed by Babylon. The temple was destroyed by Babylon. Then 70 years later, we have the returnees from Babylon coming again. Ezra and Nehemiah would lead that in two different characters in two separate times, but they would lead the revival, I would say, of Judea in a small scale and under the Persian Empire. Okay, so this is the context on which we're talking about. Roughly 2,500 years ago, and under the Persian Empire, basically. Okay, so I want to I'll probably focus on just some of the verses, or just maybe one verse even, but I just want you to read it with you. Okay, so it says this: there is an opposition to the rebuilding of Jerusalem, and etc., etc. Let's see what's happening. When Sanballat heard that we were rebuilding the wall, he became angry and was greatly incensed. He ridiculed the Jews, and in the presence of his associates and the army of Samaria, he said, "What are those feeble Jews doing? Will they restore their wall, the wall that surrounds Jerusalem, not like the Western Wall, the walls around Jerusalem? Will they offer sacrifices, meaning build the temple and everything? Will they finish in a day? Can they bring the stones back to life from those heaps of rubble, burnt as they are?" Tobiah the Ammonite, so Sanballat is from Syria, basically. And then we have another king, Tobiah, the Ammonite from Transjordan, who was at his side, said, "What they are building, even a fox climbing up on it would break down their wall of stones." Okay, it's like their wall is ridiculous. "Hear us, our God, for we are despised. Turn their insults back on their own head. Give them over as plunder in a land of captivity. Do not cover up their guilt or blot out their sins from your sight, for they have thrown insults in the face of the builders." So we rebuilt the wall till all of it reached half its height, for the people worked with all their heart. But when Sanballat, Tobiah, the Arabs, the Ammonites, and the people of Ashdod, meaning the Philistines, heard that the repairs to Jerusalem's walls had gone ahead and that the gaps were being closed, they were very angry. Okay, so the nations that surrounds Judea, small Judea, wants to challenge it. They all plotted together to come and fight against Jerusalem and stir up trouble against it. But we prayed to our God and posted a guard day and night to meet this threat. Okay, so we understood that they are plotting against us, and we actually had guards. And if you think about the massacre that took place, we definitely didn't have enough soldiers and guards during that Saturday. Meanwhile, the people in Judah said, "The strength of the laborers is giving out, and there is so much rubble that we cannot rebuild the wall." Also our enemies said, before they know it or see us, we will be right there among them and will kill them and put an end to the work. Then and this is key, okay, this is like let's take a look. Then the Jews who lived near them came and told us 10 times over, they were warning, "Whenever you turn, they will attack us. Therefore, I stationed some of the people behind the lowest points of the wall at the exposed places, posting them by families with their swords, spears, and bows. After I looked things over, I stood up and said to the nobles, the officials, and the rest of the people, don't be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome, and fight for your families, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your homes. When our enemies heard that we were aware of their plot and that God has frustrated it, we all returned to the wall, each to our own work. From that day on, half of the men did the work, while the other half were equipped with spears, shields, bows, and armor. The officers posted themselves behind all the people of Judah who were building the wall. Those who carried materials did their work with one hand and held a weapon in the other. Okay, so this is a very, very famous verse in the history of Israel and the Zionist movement. Those who carried materials did their work with one hand, held a weapon with one hand, and held a weapon in the other. Okay, so you're building with one hand and holding a sword with the other. That's what's going on here. And this is the ethos, I would say, on which the early Zionist movement and many Israelis grew up with that notion. Okay, so that's the one thing that I really want to share. In Hebrew, it's be'achat yado osa b'mlacha. One hand is doing the work. Ve'achat machzeket hashalach, meaning the other one is holding the sword. So this is our life here. If we want to build life, if we want to build our country, if we want to start families and build basically our nation, and we still have to hold the sword on the other hand. We cannot be naive. That's it. If you have any questions, then you're welcome. So these nations also belong to the Persian Empire. They're under the Persian Empire. The Persian Empire was massive, so all these nations are basically like vassal kings or vassal kingdoms, I guess, under the Persian Empire.
Okay, so does that mean that because the Jews had the permission of, I think it was
Cyrus.
yeah, to return, so those other people under the rule of Persia, they would go against the highest leader in trying to hinder the Jews. Is that correct?
Yeah, but again, it's not just attacking them. It's like also sending their people to Shushan, okay, to the Persian capital, basically telling Xerxes they are, they separatists. Okay, they don't want to be a part of the empire. They're building the walls. They're like gathering army, etc. So there was like it's a whole story. Okay. Just wanted to be familiar with these few verses.
I'm familiar with the verse that you were just highlighting.
Yeah.
And the scenario. I was just struck that that they dared to go against Cyrus, those other people around.
It's not exactly in days of Cyrus. I think it's Nehemiah it's a bit later.
Okay.
The declaration of Cyrus takes place with Ezra in the days of Ezra, and then I want to say this is like at least a few decades, if not a century later.
Okay, and I don't know if that's too much to ask, but I would be interested when they were returning the former land of the two kingdoms of Judah and Israel. Who was there when they returned?
So the Assyrian exiled the kingdom of Israel, the 10 tribes. This is happening 100 and something years before the destruction of the temple by Babylon. Okay, so at this point in time, the northern kingdom is already gone, and it was inhabited by the people of Kut, which is some people from Iraq somewhere that were inhabited in Samaria instead of the kingdom of Israel.
And then when the temple was destroyed, who did they also send other people then into that part of the land?
When Judea was exiled, it's not exactly that they inhabited it with other people, it's just that the desert people, like the Edomites, they moved north.
Okay, with the permission of the Babylonians.
Can't remember if it was with their permission, just something that happened. Historically, we actually have proofs for that. Like we actually have archaeology of these Edomites.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I just didn't quite understand. And the people from the other people that came into the northern part, they were purposely sent there. Is that correct?
Yeah, the people of Kut. The policy of the Assyrian Empire was to exile rebellious nations and to switch their land so that they won't be able to uprise again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That's what I want to share with you today. We had a prayer, we had the updates. I want to show you a little bit about the plans of Iran and why I'm still confused about the timing of the attack. Then we talked a little bit about the book of Nehemiah, chapter 4. And if there are any other questions, then you're welcome. Welcome, Chris. Okay, thank you very much, all of you, for joining. It means a lot. And thank you for following. And we have all these sessions recorded if you want to share with people. Trying to give an inside look at the Israeli society in these days. Not just what you would hear on the news, but something that is going on really that you won't hear on the news. And maybe some of it is sad, some of it is very happy. I'm just trying to give you a sense of what is going on. And when we study the Torah, we believe that it's giving a lot of light to the world, and we definitely need more of that light these days. I see all your thank you, and it's really heartwarming. And again, thank you for joining. And all the best. I hope to see you tomorrow as usual. I'm estimating, how things are going to be at home around this time, and around 6, I just let you know, okay, I think it's going to happen. Just depending on how active Tavo is at every point. So my son is having fun. That's it. That's it for now. Thanks again, and I hope to see you tomorrow. All the best. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Brother Itamar. And know that you're in our prayers, and I love you and your family.
Jen, back to you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
All
you.
the
Just
best.
seeing you and knowing that you're sitting there and you're right at this moment safe, and that's a comfort too. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Over.
Thanks a lot. All the best and talk soon. Bye-bye for now.